Good morning and welcome to A View from the Top, brought to you by the Rush Sports Medicine Team. I'm your host, Christopher Haralson. Every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. here on Super Talk Meridian 103.3 FM, we take a look around the world at Meridian Community College athletics. Men's basketball team dropped a couple of heartbreakers in the last week. The Northeast Tiger came into town last Thursday and hit a three-pointer right at the buzzer to take the 71-68 win over the Eagles. The Eagles are 9-4 overall now, 1-3 in MAC play. And then the Eagles went down to Poplarville Monday night to face a really good Pearl River team, dropped that by 1 point, had a chance to win it at the end, and just couldn't quite seal the deal. Tomorrow night, the Eagles will host Coahoma at the Graham Gymnasium at 6 o'clock. We'd love to have you come out and watch the Eagles play. If you can't make it, you can always watch that game on mcceagles.live. The Eagles went up to Coahoma the last game of the semester in December and took a 1-point win in overtime over the Coahoma Tigers. Really good team. It ought to be a great matchup Thursday night in the Graham Gymnasium. The Lady Eagles went 1-1 in conference play last week as they went all the way to Booneville to pick up the 93-90 win over the Northeast Lady Tigers. Callie Cohen exploded for 31 points. It was a career high for her. And then freshman Sarah Williams from Choctaw Central had career high in points and rebounds with 22 points and 13 rebounds. Huge high-scoring game for both teams, but the Lady Eagles were able to pull out the three-point win up in Booneville. Monday night, however, they dropped a battle with the Pearl River Lady Wildcats. It was a back-and-forth game all the way to the end till the Lady Wildcats hit some free throws down the stretch to pull out the 10-point win, 59-49. But a really hard-fought game. Lady Wildcats are a good team, and Lady Eagles came out just a little short. Tomorrow night, the Lady Eagles will go all the way up to Clarksdale as they take on the Lady Tigers at Coahoma. So that'll be a long trip for the Lady Eagles as they try to get back on the winning streak. MCC track team will open up next weekend, open up their indoor season January 14th and 15th as they head over to Birmingham to run in the UAB Vulcan Invitational. And then just a couple days later, the MCC softball is going to head down to Pensacola State College as they open up their season. February 4th at Pensacola, they'll play Bryant and Stratton, Coastal Alabama South, as well as Pensacola State for a couple of games. And while the Lady Eagles are down there playing softball, Pensacola will be here in town playing the baseball team. Preseason number 14 ranked MCC Eagles will open up Saturday, February 5th against Pensacola State College at Skaggs Field. That game will start at 2 o'clock. We'd love to have you come out for opening day. As always, if you can't make it out, you can watch mcceagles.live, but we'd love to have you out at Skaggs Field to cheer on the Eagles as we open up this year. MCC Tennis is getting ready to start their spring portion of the schedule. They'll play that Sunday, February 6th at home out at Northeast Park as they host Oxford Emory University. MCC Tennis had a great fall season and got some good players, got a couple of folks in at the break looking to have a good season this year. And as they open up Sunday, February 6th. And then on Monday, the number 7 ranked MCC golf team will head down to Bishop State Invitational in Mobile, Alabama, and they'll play Monday, February 5th or 7th and 8th. Coach Ronnie Key's got a really good golf team this year. Like I said, ranked number 7 in the country after the fall season. So they look to continue their winning ways as they open up in Mobile at the Bishop State Invitational. MCC soccer teams are hosting a youth soccer camp February 8th and 10th at C.D. Smith Field. That'll be 5:30 to 7:30 p.m., ages 4 to 14, $75 a camper. It's a great time for kids to come out and get a refresher as they get ready for their rec season or their club season. It's good to get back into soccer right before they get ready to play, so it'll be a good tune-up as they get some outstanding coaching from current MCC Eagles as well as coaches on both staffs. For more information or registration about that, contact head women's coach Mike Smith at msmith3@meridiancc.edu. After a short break, we'll be joined by Hall of Famer, former MCC tennis coach Wanda McPhail. You're listening to A View from the Top, brought to you by the Rush Sports Medicine Team here on Super Talk Meridian 103.3 FM.
Meridian Community College. For more than 75 years, we've helped students soar. Establishing the first tuition guarantee program in Mississippi, we put our students first while creating pathways into the workforce and offering a seamless transition to a 4-year degree. Now is the time to find your purpose and register today, because those who move forward never get left behind. MCC, find your wings.
Welcome back to A View from the Top, brought to you by the Rush Sports Medicine Team here on Super Talk Meridian 103.3 FM. You know, when we talk about A View from the Top, no one has kept a program at the top better or longer than this week's guest, former MCC tennis coach and 3-time Hall of Famer, Coach Wanda McPhail. Coach, thank you for joining me today.
Well, I'm so glad to be here and to talk about MCC in any form, but especially the MCC tennis program and my wonderful years at MCC.
That's right. So, when I think about you, Coach, one of the things that always comes to mind is your faith and how strong you are in that, and that's something that you and I have talked about over the years. And a verse that kind of came to my mind this morning, literally as I was driving in here to talk to you, was Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not harm you, plans to give you a hope in the future. And 22 years ago, when Coach, or President Dr. Elliott, asked you to join the MCC tennis team, did you think about that verse and what it would lead to down the road? Or I think you've told everybody, hey, I was going to be there 1 year.
Well, you know, I don't make any major decisions in my life without praying about them carefully. And,
Sure.
You know, I loved West Lauderdale. I bled red and black at that time. And, you know, I just didn't know for sure if I would really like being at the next level because of the rapport with kids. But after praying about it, I just felt like it was a great time to make that move. And I did tell Dr. Elliott, I'll try it for a year, when he approached me. But I don't know that I'll stay. And, 18 years, some of the best years of my life.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't think anybody can question the success, that we had while you were there. I mean, at MCC, tennis has always been good. But just the longevity of the success that we've had and the multiple, I didn't even have time to write down all the state championships and region championships and national tournament appearances and all the great players. And what was it, 8 Arthur Ashe Sportsmanship Award winners you had?
Well, I think we were up to about 11.
Okay, 11. I knew it was several. So, I think all that's obviously a testament to your willingness to be there and serve those student athletes and lead them down the road. But since then, you've decided to retire and you've left us. We've got a good coach now, TJ Carter, who's taken over. How's retirement going? How are you spending your days now?
Well, doing exactly what I want to, and some days that's
I think you always did exactly what you wanted to.
But some days that's not a lot. With the pandemic, I really have not had the opportunity to really know, and to do some of the things that I've wanted to do because, travel has always been at the top of my list.
Right.
And my travel has been limited. But, I read a lot. And like I said, if I want to go wet a hook down at the pond, I can do that.
Sure.
I used to love fishing. And so lots of time with my husband and my grandchildren.
I was fixing to say, I think you do a fair amount of traveling back and forth to Oxford with those grandbabies, don't you?
Yes, there in Madison, Mississippi.
Okay, so you're keeping the roads hot, even if it's not to Italy and Rome and things like that. You're still getting some traveling. It's just more local.
It is, but I hope I have a lot of traveling otherwise in me.
That's right. I'm sure you've got plenty to do. Does your husband like to travel as much as you, if it doesn't include hunting?
Well, I started to say we always have to plan our trips around deer season and turkey season.
That's right. You got to keep your priorities straight.
But he does love to travel.
Well, good. That'll be exciting. So, 18 years, MCC. Let's talk about some of your favorite memories or favorite players. I know there's a lot, and so I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. So let's just go through. We've got 20, 30 minutes here. Let's talk about some folks you coached and some things you remember the most.
Well, it goes really back to, the very first year. And again, it was about like my first year of coaching basketball in Meridian. It was not a very successful season as I came in May and recruiting had been done.
Right.
And so, the first year was tough, but we struggled, but we played hard and a lot of local kids. And we had a good time. But again, I said, not anymore. So hit the recruiting path. But, honestly, that next year I had a lot of local kids again, a couple little guys from Quitman, Mississippi.
Right.
Kevin McDonald and Dustin Davidson and some other local kids. And, we just, at the end of the season, lo and behold, we were going to the national tournament, and honestly, I had no idea what to expect. You
Right.
know, I'm not ego bound, and when I first came, I had to ask somebody, "What do you mean Division I, II, and III?" Because
Right.
I'd always been in high school, and
Right.
not always having athletes who wanted to go on and play. So, I had to learn a lot too.
Sure, sure. We talked with Athletic Director Sandra Atkinson before the break, and you were there through, I guess, all of the transitions from Meridian Community College being independent in athletics, Meridian Community College being a part of the state association, going back independent, going back to the state, and just the flip-flopping. Tell me a little bit how you navigated that, because every time we changed, recruiting rules changed and scholarship rules changed and who we play. Well, I guess in tennis it didn't ever change who we played as much as recruiting and scholarships. So tell me a little bit about how you navigated those transitions, because there were several of them.
One of my favorite memories is I was in the office one day I guess it was about the second season, and I got a call, and it was from a guy in Miami. And like I said, the recruiting process was something totally new to me. And he said, "You want to talk about some foreign players?" And I was like, No, we don't want any foreign players. And
Right.
I mean, that was the end of the conversation, and it wasn't long before I realized that to be competitive, I was going to have to bring in some really top-notch players.
Right.
And so I started, getting my feet wet, talking to some foreign recruiters and those kinds of things, and filling that out. And so, that's really how we remained competitive, because we were limited anyway.
Right.
That we could not have any more than 2 who were outside the state.
Right, let alone outside the country.
Yes, and so I, started, like my counterparts, recruiting a couple of good international players, and mine weren't always at the top, but that allowed me to take my good Mississippi players at the 3, 4, 5, 6 spots, and so I had depth.
Right.
And that's how I started winning, honestly. And MCC has such a good name that, that their program's always been great. When I
Right.
played junior college tennis, MCC was at the top.
Right.
And so they've always had a great program. They had a good name. And so I really, after that, did not have a lot of trouble recruiting. Now, one thing that helped me is that when we went independent,
Right.
we had those rules with the protected players.
Right.
And it gave me an advantage,
Sure.
but it was within the rules.
Well, absolutely. And so one of the things that I probably marveled at with your success more than any winning, I mean, we won and that was great. I mean, I was always proud for those kids. But even as far as the internationals, and you talk about bringing in kids that you've never physically seen play, you've never physically talked to in person. This was back before Zoom and even before FaceTime. I mean, it was a phone call, and some of this was even before YouTube. Like, it was hard to get, video footage on these kids. You just kind of had to take somebody's word for it in Brazil or in Spain or somewhere else. But what we always managed to get was good players, but we always managed to get good people. Like, I mean, you can't always get a good person that you've talked to a dozen times and watched play 50 times. And we're getting good people from overseas that we didn't get to watch or really even talk to.
That's my faith part, and you talked about my faith.
Right.
But I just always believed that God was going to send me those players that He wanted me to work with. Because,
Right.
In coaching, I loved coaching, but I just loved kids.
Right.
And I just always wanted to make them into better people. And so, but I did want to bring kids in that understood the culture here
Right.
and what would be expected of them. So I had real heart-to-heart conversations with recruiters, and they know that if they don't send you somebody kind of what you want, you're not going to come back to them.
Sure.
And so I would talk to them very honestly about what my expectations would be. And then, I'm not going to say that there aren't some stories that you'd rather not hear on here, but with some of them it took longer, but slowly but surely they adapted
Right.
to here, and it was not worth breaking my rules.
Right. Well, and I think it's a testament to the type of people you brought in that, your successor, Simon Bardell, he was an international player that obviously that was later on in your career, so I'm sure we had some more communication with then. But he wanted to come back. He met his wife here while he was here. He wanted to come back. He wanted to coach. He wanted to lead the Eagles. He wanted to follow in your footsteps. And then after he left, another former player, TJ Carter, same thing. Not international, but still somebody who came here who wasn't from Meridian. He was out of district, I guess, and but wanted to be a part and wanted to lead this, wanted to carry on that tradition. I mean, and there's some pretty big shoes to fill that you've left us with, like I said, 3-time Hall of Famer with Meridian Hall of Fame, the Conference Hall of Fame, the National Hall of Fame. And so it's daunting for a former player to know, hey, she did this for 18 years, and now I've got to come in here and try to continue to do that. So I think that shows the kind of people we were bringing in.
Well, like I said, I did have high expectations of them in the classroom, working community service, made sure they were always involved in the community. And I hoped that my faith would wear off on some of them.
Right.
And, I was not one to proselytize, but they knew where I stood always.
Sure. I think.
And, so, as a matter of fact, I have to share this. I do have a success story. I had a little girl from Norway, and I led her to Christ since she returned to Norway.
Outstanding.
Over Skype.
Wow.
Yes, and so that's what you want to see done. Like I said, I'm so proud of everything she's accomplished.
Right.
But for me, that's the most important thing.
Right.
And so so I've got those great players. Amy Cole, who's now Amy Murray. Anna Vavrik, she was a Russian. She's in Thailand now and very successful. And stay in touch with her. One of my first international was Scott McNamara from Australia, and he's now in the United States teaching tennis, and we stay in touch. He's called me twice this week, but we have not been able to reconnect.
Right.
But, I just think that they bought into MCC.
Sure.
A lot of them, by the end of their sophomore years, they're like, I'd just be so glad to get out of here because
Right.
it's junior college. And Scott's one of the ones that in July he called me back and he said, Coach, I just wish MCC were a 4-year school. I just wish I could come back.
Right.
And, I know he meant it because, like I said, we stayed in touch with his trips back home to Australia when he's come back here, and he actually has been to see me and stayed at my house. And
Right.
he is a certified coach, and so he actually helped me with practices, and I've had 2 or 3 players who've done that.
Right. Well, you talk about Amy Cole and in her time here, she loved it so much that she came back and helped. She also enjoyed her time here. She met her husband. We talk about Michael Murray, who was a great baseball player for the Eagles, and now they're both physical therapists. And we've had several athletes through the years that have come through and met their spouse. One of the Hartley girls, we had 2 of them. Not sure which married a soccer player.
Alden.
Yep, Alden married a McKee. Was it Connor? I'm not even sure. We had 3 brothers from Starkville, all McKees
Connor.
that came and played soccer.
Yep.
2 Hartleys from Clinton that came and played tennis, and sure enough, 2 of them hooked up, and they're now married. And so when they come to Meridian, it's not just tennis or soccer or baseball. It really is for a lot of people, and they say this every time, it's the best 2 years of my life. And whether they have success on the court or on the field, or they meet their significant other. I mean, there's story after story of people meeting their spouse while they're at Meridian Community College.
I've been so amazed by how many of my former players are involved in the tennis world now. Ashton, that you just mentioned, is actually coaching at Belhaven now. She's the head coach there. And then Indy Meyer is teaching in Louisiana. Like I said, Scott's involved with tennis.
Right.
And so I just have so many, players who are actually went into the coaching that I never thought would. Chase Rigdon is working at a club in Louisiana, very successful, and has gotten into pickleball as well.
Pickleball is huge.
Yeah, so that's, to me, those are the successes. I've had a lot of really successful players. I have a lot of players who are PTs or OTs or in some professional field like that, and I want to think that they got really solid foundation for what they did through the faculty at MCC, and that's one of the things that helped make my time easy, is because we have such a wonderful faculty that kept me abreast of what my players were doing in the classroom.
Exactly. So we talk about all these great players, and you were the leader of those great players, and you still got outstanding relationship with so many of our former players and alumni. And they all played and they practiced on our 4 courts on campus that are not in the greatest shape. And then they play their matches at Northeast Park, which is an outstanding facility. We were lucky to have that. We hosted countless tournaments out there and won countless tournaments out there. But now thanks to all that, thanks to your success, and it's always...
It's the players.
It's ironic that because of that success and once you're gone, now we look at we're building our own facility, and we're thankful for that. We're excited about, the administration has got behind this, and it's happening. We're breaking ground hopefully in the next month or so with a new tennis and softball facility, and that's a testament to your leadership as well as these players. And so talk a little bit about what that means to know that, hey, we're getting our own place on campus.
Well, that's kind of been something that I've been on the tail end of. I mean, I sort of approached Dr. Huebner that I felt like that was something that was just totally necessary. I came there and we practiced the first 3 years at Sammy Davidson because the courts at MCC were not even playable.
Right.
And, of course, they patched them every 2 years the whole time I was there. And, when players would come in my recruiting process, it's kind of hard sometimes to get a sale when you look out there and you have those 4 courts that are not in great shape. And
right.
I can tell them that we play at Northeast, but there's just something about having a home facility at your own college.
Right.
And the main thing is, yes, I won. To be honest, I never was not at we went to nationals 17 years. Only the first year did we not go to nationals with
right.
the men or the women. And so all of that happened on those 4 courts. But
right.
times are different. I've lived here all my life. I know everybody.
Yeah.
And so the recruiting process became easy for me. But, players today are different.
Right.
They're about the bells and whistles.
That's right.
And they want to be able to be proud of their home courts.
Right.
And even like TJ, I just give him kudos to him. I mean, he's come in there and done some wonderful things. He had a pickleball tournament on those courts. And to be honest, there were a couple of people that said, man, you need some new courts,
That's
you
right.
know. And he had a great success with the pickleball. And, he's done some wonderful things. He had the first alumni gathering.
Right.
And so it'd be just so nice when we get those new courts to be able to host some events. He can do camps that we couldn't do in the past because there was no sense to me in bringing them to a camp if they weren't going to be on MCC's facilities.
Right.
Because let's face it, we hope they'll end up at MCC.
That's exactly right.
And so I just can't tell you how excited I am. It's something that I wanted the whole time I was there, but I'm also a realist, and I didn't push. Economy was not great, and I thought I can do this anyway. And, my players honestly never complained.
Right.
We might sometimes just say, man, we wish. But, they built me a nice office down by the courts. And
locker rooms.
Yes, and locker rooms and all. And, Dr. Elliott at that time said, I'd like to build you new courts, but I just can't now.
Right.
So I did give you your own space. And it was nice to be able to be away from, the whole time I was there, I taught English. And so, I'd be trying to deal with the tennis kids and students from English classes that needed help.
Right.
And it was like just sometimes, too many people in one office.
Right.
But it sort of gave my tennis kids a place to get away into the stringing room if I was working with an English student and that kind of thing. So, yes, we need new courts when we need them so bad. And I'm so excited that Dr. Huebner has pushed forward with this and the board and all the work that you're doing with it.
Well, yes, ma'am.
And Leah, and I just can't wait to see it come to fruition.
Well, with all the alumni we've got, we want them to still be a part of this new facility, even though they don't, obviously get the opportunity to play in it. So we've got a huge donation from Citizens National Bank. Like we're moving forward. This project is going if we don't raise another dollar. But we would love to have some donations so that we can put some names of alumni. If somebody wants to give money and have a court named after them or have the locker room or something like that, then we're open to that. And we would love to have, any alumni that are listening that want to give to that project and be a part of that. They can call the foundation office at 601-484-8612 and make a pledge or make a donation. And they can be a part of this new facility that they help build with all their success.
Well, I would like to encourage any who are listening, but I'd also like to get in touch with every player that ever played for me.
Right.
And to let them know how important this is to me and that they are the reason that we need new courts now. Is that they brought this program. Our program's recognized nationally.
Sure.
And I was able to serve on the Intercollegiate Tennis Association's board. And when I first got asked to do that, I was like, me?
Right.
But it was because of what the players had brought our program to through
Sure.
their hard work. And it was not easy always
Right.
because, I like to think I'm a cruel taskmaster. But anyway, I just would like to really get in touch with them. And I'd like for people listening to know that I believe in it enough that I've invested my own money
Sure.
yearly in putting aside money for the tennis courts and hoping that dream would come true.
Absolutely.
And so it's not just about, I'm not there anymore, but I love MCC. I now bleed green and white.
That's right.
And, I really would love to see people give and to help us make that dream happen a little faster.
Absolutely. And any alumni that we've got listening today or watch us here on YouTube on the podcast, we have set the date for this year's alumni mixer. TJ did a great job with our first tennis alumni mixer. And so this year we're going to be Saturday, March the 5th. We're going to start about 10 o'clock at the Wanda McPhail Tennis Center there on campus of Meridian Community College. We'll have the registration links up for that soon, and we would love for all alumni who've ever played MCC tennis, whether you were on the first team Coach McPhail coached, the last, or even before Coach McPhail got there. We'd love for you to come out, and by then we'll have some good drawings and renderings of the new facility, and so we'll be ready to move forward with that new project. Coach, I want to thank you for joining me. We have you back on here again in the spring once we get in the middle of tennis, and we'll talk some more about this as it starts happening and we start seeing some progress. I'd like to remind everyone that MCC basketball is back in the Grand Gymnasium tomorrow night as they host the Oklahoma Tigers at 6 o'clock. We'd love for you to come out and watch the Eagles this year. They're off to a good start so far. If you can't, you can always watch our home games at mcceagles.live. The Lady Eagles will head up to Clarksdale as they'll take on the Lady Tigers of Oklahoma at 6 o'clock. We've got plenty of opportunities coming up in the next few weeks to come out to the Graham Gymnasium and watch the Eagles play basketball, the men or the women. To keep up with that schedule and all things MCC Athletics, please like us on Facebook at MCC Eagles Athletics. Follow us on Twitter at MCC Eagles Sports. And for every episode of A View from the Top, Eagle highlights, and so much more, subscribe to us on YouTube. Just search Meridian Community College. I want to thank Coach McPhail for coming out again and speaking with me and talking about tennis. And I want to thank you for listening to this week's episode of A View from the Top, brought to you by the Rush Sports Medicine Team. Join me every Wednesday morning here at 9 a.m. on Super Talk Meridian, 103.3 FM.